Hello everyone and welcome back to another One Cruise video. Now this treasure map is not too bad. I would say the biggest problem here is the intrusion, since it was built around the 6+ Zoro, which no one will have. So we're going to get into that and how I'm going to get around it, and also one of the most annoying gimmicks I've ever seen on a treasure map. But first, let's talk about York. So York is actually not too bad. She is a double special activation unit, and I noticed that a lot of new characters that are free to play have double special activation. And as someone who likes to speed farm, that is quite annoying. Just give the character proper use. But I can understand that it's because you want to use her to buff your attack boosting effects twice. So I mean, I can understand, but it is still quite annoying. She is a utility unit, getting around 6 turns of damage reduction and threshold, and 6 turns of special bind. Of course, her crewmate ability does negate special bind, and she has a really good ability here to make recovery orbs, similar bomb, and super bomb all count as matching for cerebral characters. One of the best crewmate abilities from a free-to-play unit I've seen in a long time. Just making recovery beneficial is already so good because most ships don't do that. But then also doing the rest of that is really nice. Special ability, besides giving us the utility for both the crew and removing enemy defensive effects, is also going to allow us to get the bottom row recovery orbs through block, and then also buffing your attack boost, color affinity boosts, and also your multiplicative chain buffs by 0.25. If you don't have a color affinity and have 5 or more egghead characters, which is not the worst condition, it is quite difficult, but you can have some slack there with one character who isn't egghead tagged, and also all the egghead characters aren't going to have the problem of not being tagged yet, because some older characters don't have tags. But of course, egghead is a more recent arc with only newer characters, so all of them should have their tags, so this shouldn't be much of a problem. And then you get a 2.25x color affinity, which can be buffed twice. So of course you can use York twice and then get a 0.25x increase in that, so it's essentially a 2.5x color affinity for Psi Index characters, which isn't too bad whatsoever. Super Tandem, I actually haven't looked at this yet, is going to proc when you have any of the Seraphim or the Vegapunk characters, and it's going to give you a 1.5x tandem attack boost and also a further 0.25x increase in your color affinity. So of course, if you want to get the most from her own color affinity, you can get up to 2.75x, which is very good. Support ability is trash, so let's not look at that. And of course, her captain isn't anything remarkable. She is a Dex cerebral driven character, so no primary class, which does have some negative implications. But overall, I'd say she's a pretty solid character. Definitely better than a lot of the more recent free-to-play units we've been receiving. In other news, the treasure point rewards are going to go up to 20 million instead of the usual 10 million. So of course, that's going to be a lot of extra rewards. You get a super tandem boost tablet for getting up to 20 million. So I highly recommend getting to that mark. And of course, you're also going to get a lot of extra gems, probably another 50 gems from going from 10 million to 20 million. So make sure to grind up this treasure map, even though it can be quite frustrating at times. And then if you take a look at the boosted list, Zoro is going to be the best booster. Not because of his point multiplier, which is the exact same as the anniversary legends, but because he makes all C card charts, or just all cards in general, have a 100% chance of proccing. So this includes the cards that allow you to increase your navigation level, cards that kill mini bosses, and also the ones that give you a specific roll on the dice. So for instance, to roll a 3, you get a guaranteed chance for all of those cards. So that is definitely the best effect. And then we also have the individual anniversary legends, which have their own buffs, increasing their individual card types to 100% chance, but also buffing their effect. So for Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, it increases the points that you get from the mini boss killing cards, if you can call it that. And then we also have someone like Brook here, who increases the effectiveness of your navigation cards And then also having old free-to-play characters, so Monet gives you an extra use on the C chart card, so it's going to increase your navigation level further. And then for York, it makes the C cat cards better by increasing the amount of rolls you can get on them to get even more points. So of course those C cat cards are only available, or you're likely to roll them, on the super bonus map. But enough yapping, let's get straight into the teams, which I'm very happy with. The mini bosses have been made very easy because there's no special cooldown requirements for certain classes or types. Every single character on all the mini bosses gets cooldown, so that makes a lot of wiggle room for making teams. So let's go to the first one. This is one of the easiest treasure map bosses I've ever seen here, or mini bosses. Frankie is just going to give you 9 turns of despair, and that's it. So the focus here is on speed and also on power. Now Roger and Nougat is one of the best characters you can use to get around despair in treasure map, just because of how much damage they provide you, and then also giving you that despair reduction, and their special activates extremely fast. So how this team works is Akainu is just there for damage. He is a strength driven character. That's important because not only does he have type advantage, but he also has the driven class, which the enemy is weak to. That just means we get an extra 2x damage. Then we have the kid-in-law, who's there to give us a chain boundary of minimum 2.25x and a chain growth rate buff, and then also wave clearing on the second stage. I recommend maxing out their stats just to make sure that they special can kill on stage 2. Stage 1 we just use Kuzan special. Kuzan does not need to be level limit break 5. I do recommend, or I highly suggest, you need Kuzan to be at level limit break 3. Expansion I don't think is required, but just level limit break 3 for Kuzan. Then we have Hiyori. Any kind of character that gives you Wano orbs at the start of the quest as a crewmate ability will suffice. So you could use someone like the co-op Zoro. He also works, but just make sure that your Akainu is on the right side then in that case. But it just depends on who you're using. Akainu special isn't going to be used, but his support of Kuma is great for a 1.5x color affinity. Now Roger and Nougat needs to be in their int form, the Roger form. That will reduce the despair, increase the attack boost from our Kuzan captain effect to 3x, and then also buff the Kuma color affinity from the support by 0.5. So overall, we'll have to just use one special on the final stage. It's just Roger, and that will give you a 2x orb boost, a 3x color affinity, no, 3x attack boost, a 2x color affinity, a chain boundary of minimum 2.25x, and a chain growth rate buff, in addition to the Wano orb on your Akainu. And remember, he also has the 2x extra damage from being a driven character. So overall, this team is never going to run out of damage. Even though it's good principle to have at least 2 damage dealing units, Akainu is more than enough, especially since the first mini boss always has the slowest HP growth rate. Okay, next boss is going to be against Brook. So this is an int boss with free spirit characters getting a weakness buff, so you want to be using a free spirit character to be dealing your damage, an extra 2x damage for free, of course. Now this boss is a bit more annoying since we have rewind, special bind, and then also threshold, as well as a full board of block orbs. Now most times when you're building teams and you see block orbs, you just want to use Legend Hiyori, full board of Wano orbs. They can't be changed. It also makes the team a bit faster and a lot stronger. Another option could be any of the Shirahoshi characters that give you a full board of rainbow orbs at the start of the quest, because those can't be changed either. They do have a bit less damage though than Hiyori. So how this team works is we're going to ignore the special bind. The special bind is only to our left side. Right side gets 1 turn of special rewind. So how it's going to work is we are going to use the super class of Dogstorm, should I say, on stages 1 and 2. Then it gives our fighter characters super class, which is just a free 1.5x damage buff to our fighter characters, which are our main damage dealers. So the bottom row characters can be any Psy fighter free spirit characters. They need to be Psy for type advantage, fighter because the super class from Dogstorm gives extra damage, and then they need to be free spirit to get the weakness advantage. But they don't use this. We don't use their specials, so it can literally be any character who's Psi Fighter free spirit. Then we have Cat Viper, who's going to get around the rewind on the final stage, so it's very important that he's on the right side of the crew. He's also going to give us a very fast orb boost. So Cat Viper special works extremely fast from what I've experienced in the past, and then you can use Dogstorm for an attack boost, but overall it's not already needed at the start of the treasure map. All you really need to use is Cat Viper, and then later on you can use Dogstorm for an extra 2.25x attack. We have Wonder Orbs, of course, and you can see that those bottom row characters are going to be hitting like trucks. We also have Wonder Orbs, and then, oh, I already said that, and then the chain buff from the support of Zora, which at the start of the treasure map you can also remove to save you a bit of time. But overall, that's how the team works. And for cooldown, we don't have to worry, because as I said before, all characters get cooldown, and then we also have the anniversary ship, which gives an extra 5 cooldown. So no matter who you're using, you should not have to worry about that. Okay, the next mini boss is up against Usopp and Nami, once again int. Now we aren't using many boosted characters here, but that's not too much of a problem. Once again, those bottom row characters are just there for damage, so we aren't using their special. So whoever your bottom row characters is, they need to be Psi, Slasher, Cerebral. Cerebral characters have the weakness buff of 2x. Slasher characters, because our captain only boosts slashers, and then Psi, of course, for type advantage. And of course, just attach stat boosting supports to them. Those are not needed specifically. Any stat boosting support will work. But then we have Kuma. So Kuma can be any Kuma character in the game, and then attached is Bonnie for a 5-turn bind reduction. So I actually spoke about Bonnie in one of my previous videos, where I was talking about the Omae character, who has a great support for bind reduction, but I was saying that Bonnie is the best bind reducing support in the game because she reduces it by 5 turns. So we get rid of that 8 turns with Sockets and Bonnie perfectly. We can ignore the fear. That's completely irrelevant for this team. We aren't using crewmate abilities. And then we get a 5-turn attack down reduced by our captain's abilities. And then we also have a middle row blow away. So we can ignore the blow away since we aren't using any of our middle row characters on the final stage. And then we're going to use the special of our Toki on our bottom row characters on the second stage. So how the team works is stage 1 super class of our Kaden or Kinemon, Denjiro, and the other guys. Just the Akazaya Samurai. Just use their super class stage 1. Stage 2, use Toki on our bottom row characters. It's gonna give them a 3.5x attack and all boost for the final stage. And then use your other friend captain's super class to wave clear on stage 2 as well. Then the final stage, no specials, 1 support. So this team is very fast. You're gonna have a 3.5x attack and all boost, a super class buff from the captain. You're gonna have your Wonder Orbs from the super class of the captain as well. Their super class gives the bottom row Wonder Orbs. And then you also have well, I think that's about it. Oh yeah, the weakness buff of 2x. So even though this team doesn't have any chain, which is usually a red flag, the amount of damage we have regardless makes that completely irrelevant. We have so much damage from the insane multipliers, and then also Wonder Orbs having the weakness buff. There's just a lot going into this, making it unnecessary for us to have a chain buff. Okay, the next one is up against Robin and Chopper. Now this team is interesting. A lot of weird characters here. Once again, the bottom row is useless for their specials. We are just using them for stats. So any Dex, Powerhouse, Cerebral character will work. Okay, so how the team works is Nami and Karina gets around every single debuff and enemy buff. The second you see the enemy has defense up, threshold, and attack, and gives us attack down, Nami and Karina is the go-to character in Karina's form. If you see damage reduction, resilience, barriers, and giving us paralysis, then Nami and Karina in the Nami form gets around everything. So this character is so versatile and useful. And then they also give us a orb boost. So of course, they don't remove all 8 turns of the threshold, but they remove both of the attack down and the defense up completely. So there's 2 turns of threshold remaining, so we use chopper support. Vivi also works, the limited rare recruit Vivi, if you don't have that chopper. She also gives the enemy resistance down, which is a teeny bit of extra damage if you want it, but I don't really care about that. So she is definitely an option. Then we have the Tesoro and the Marco Vista. Marco Vista is a very useful character in Treasure Map to wave clear on stage 2, and then also give us a 3-turn attack boost, which will last until the final stage. So Vista and Marco is going to give our powerhouse characters a attack boost. So that's why our bottom row needs to be powerhouse. Enemy is weak to cerebral, so that's why they need to be cerebral too. And then of course Dex for type advantage. Tesoro boosts all captains, all the characters in the team, of course, and then he has a very powerful effect which extends the chain lock effects that you have in the crew when you use their specials. So stage 1, you use Tesoro, he gives a 3-turn chain lock, which usually would be gone by the final stage, but since his captain ability extends those abilities, it means that you'll have that chain lock still on the final stage. So stage 1 Tesoro, you get a chain lock of 3.75x. Stage 2 Marco Vista for a attack boost. And then the final stage, Nami and Karina gets around everything and gives an orb boost. Tesoro also gives our bottom row characters matching orbs. So overall the team does a lot of damage. Once again, nope. So this team does a lot less damage in terms of pure stats than this team. But since we have a 3.75x chain lock, we get a lot of extra damage, which probably means this team will deal even more damage than this one. So we have an attack boost of 2x, orb boost of 2.25x, a chain lock of 3.75x. We have weakness advantage, and I think that's about it, but it's a lot of damage, so this team should work incredibly well. Final boss, not very accessible, I must say. Vegapunk is useless. So that's the only character I think most people won't have. And maybe Tashigi support. I don't think a lot of people have her. But if you need a replacement for her, just ask me in the comments. I will see. This should be a decent replacement. Stats on Roger. From Roger on Borsellino. Any size support will work. If you don't know, Borsellino's kit explains that if you have a size support on him, he gives the enemy or provides a territory buff for free spirit. No, slasher characters, my bad. So it's just a lot of extra damage for using a psi support. So any psi stat boosting support should work fine. Rayleigh is just the most accessible bind reducing support that I could find. Well, not bind, despair reducing support. So any despair reducing support could work. You could use I think not Kuma, PX1, I think one of the pacifistas. Yeah, you can use this support for despair reduction. Anyone works. You could also use the merry-go flying model with mod 2 to give you extra despair reduction. Either one will work. Most people should have Rayleigh by now though. Maybe not new players, since he is quite hard to get for new players, I think. But anyways, Vegapunk is useless. Main focus here is on points, because this is not a very hard quest. We are running double Borsellino. The friend captain doesn't really matter though, if I'm being honest. You just need a Borsellino to be your captain for the 10 turns of burn and special bind reduction. Borsellino also needs to be the captain or in the middle row, the bottom row, because his special negates the 5 turns of special rewind we get. He gives our middle row characters, I think, 6 turns of cooldown. So this is very important to have Borsellino. If you don't have Borsellino, you can also run this team, because just run whoever you want as your captain and then run a friend captain Borsellino. 6 turns of damage reduction and 10 turns of despair. Okay, so the despair is negated with your support and then also your special of Monet. Yeah, because Monet reduces 6 turns of despair, and then your sockets reduce another 3 turns, and then you just need 1 turn of despair with the support. Okay, so that's it for the despair. Then the damage reduction, we are going to be using the special of York twice to get around the damage reduction. But since York is only in her 5-star form, not a 5+, she only reduces 4 turns of the damage reduction with both her specials, and then we need the 2 turns from the Toshigi support to reduce the remaining turns. Final stage, you get bind, you get burn and special bind, both of which Kizaru negates. Paralysis of 6 turns, your Luffy, Zoro, Sanji negates that. Any paralysis reducer will work in place of them. So you could use Nami and Karina in Nami's form, that could also work. But yeah, this team is very basic. There's not much to say here. Any friend captain can work. Borsellino probably is what I'm going to just use. There's really not much happening here. Very easy final boss in stark contrast to this terrible intrusion, which has been designed around the 6+ Zoro, which no one has. And the thing is, stage 2 here, if we look here, our entire crew gets stunned. Well, our crewmates, should I say. So our captains are going to have to be someone who reduces our HP so that we can be free from stun. So just take a moment to look at the stage 2. The gimmicks are terrible. So we need a massive chain, which is provided by Borsellino, is what they recommend, but I'm using a different strategy, so you don't need Borsellino for this quest. He is completely useless on this team. So for both the final boss and intrusion, you guys don't need Borsellino. Friend captain on the final boss, and in this team he's useless. We are using Kikunojo and Izo to get around the chain attack down. Then we have threshold and enemy defense up, which is negated by Nami and Karina. The goat in Karina's form reduces 6 turns of threshold and defense up. As for the stun, so Kikunojo and Izo has to be our captain, and you need Momo support. I just pulled this character today and he's already being used. This is a great support. This is literally the only option. Kikunojo and Izo as a captain. We used a special. It procs the Momo support. You see, the reason is, this is so stupid because you're supposed to run Zoro as a captain or friend captain and reduce your HP with his special, but no one's gonna have Zoro. No one is gonna have that guy. So you're gonna run out of friend captains so quick. That's why I didn't build this team around that. So instead we have to rely on Kikunojo and Izo. Their special gives you a 3.5x chain lock, which you may think is too low to pass the chain attack down, but just wait. So then that's gonna proc the support of Momo. Momo's like the only option here because there's so many supports in the game that reduce crew HP, but they only proc on the final stage. We need it on stage 2, right? Momo's the only one that works, that activates upon special use. So we use Kikunojo and Izo for the chain lock, procs the Momo support, the stun is gone. Then we use the special of Nami and Karina that gives the threshold and defense up reduction, but it also gives us an orb boost, which is very important because if we take a look at Kikunojo and Izo, look at their super type. Reduces, it buffs chain lock by 0.3. That gets our chain lock from their special to 3.8x, which is exactly what we need to bypass the chain attack down. Chain attack down needs us to have above 3.75x. We have 3.8x. So this is very much needed, and it also gives us 1 orbs, which is kind of cool. But what we need for this to proc is we need to have a orb boost and a chain lock simultaneously. So of course we get the chain lock from the special, and then Nami and Karina just perfectly gives us that orb boost we need. So the order here is we use Kikunojo and Izo special, then we use Nami Karina's special in the Karina form, and then we use the super type of Kikunojo and Izo to give our chain the buff it needs. That's about it, and then we kill on stage 2. Final stage, we have another inaccessible support here, which is the limited rare recruit support of Shirahoshi, which is the only support in this game that's going to help you get around this stupid rainbow orb barrier. I have no clue why there's a rainbow orb barrier. None of the recommended characters give you a rainbow orb. It's so stupid. Like this Brook, you would expect this Brook is gonna maybe give you a rainbow orb. He doesn't do that, and he's the recommended character. Same goes for these other characters. No one in the batches, the recent batches, gets around this barrier. So your only option is to remove it or use this Shirahoshi support. And it's a 3-turn barrier, so it's very difficult to remove. Then we have resilience. Then we have 10 turns of damage reduction. And we have backup enemies. This is so stupid, bruh. It's like... So, I think the whole plan here is to run double Zoro, the 6+ Zoro. They want you to have him. They're not even satisfied if you use him as a friend captain, because you on both stage 2 and stage 3 there's backup enemies that you're supposed to kill with his special. But we're just gonna have to like manually tap and kill them, which is absolutely ridiculous. So, okay, so Shirahoshi is literally perfect for this. So the barrier is 2 rainbow orbs. So Shirahoshi gives our entire right column rainbow orbs, not through block. So when I read that we get block orbs, I was panicking, but I saw it's only to your left column. Now, so our entire right column gets bomb orbs, which can be changed by Shirahoshi. So on the final stage, we get 2 rainbow orbs perfectly, because remember, our middle row slot has a 1 orb. So we perfectly have 2 rainbow orbs on our Kikunojo and also on our Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. So we tap on our Luffy, Zoro, Sanji to get the chain going, and then we tap on Kikunojo and Izo. Remember, we still have a chain lock from Kikunojo and Izo. Their special lasts for 3 turns, or their chain lock, should I say. York is useless on this team. She's just there. Oh wait, no, she is very useful. I forgot to mention we are using Nami friend captain. A lot more accessible. A lot of people will have Nami as a captain, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Nami gets around 7 of the turns of the damage reduction, and then the remaining 3 turns are negated through York's double special activation. As for the resilience, oh look, it's another inaccessible support, Eneru. I mean, you guys should actually wait, no, I don't know if you guys are gonna have Eneru. Was he available in like the pick your own character? No, he wasn't. So this is once again a very inaccessible support. It activates on the final stage and gives us end of turn damage, which will allow us to get around the stupid resilience. So good luck if you don't have him. There's always the fallback option of using this ship here, which gives you end of turn damage, but you're not gonna have any attack boost from the ship and no cooldown. I mean, the cooldown isn't much of a problem. And if you have this modified, it's actually a very good option. It cannot really boost driven and powers. It's just a terrible option, but it is a last resort if you don't have anyone else. If you don't have that Eneru, you could just replace York with any damage reduction reducer who has access to the limited Miork support character, the Int one. Just any character that is gonna give you a support ability that has end of turn damage. But that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. This intrusion is gonna make me pull out my hair, bruh. Look at the point difference. 9.39 and 7.48x. There's so much points I'm losing because of the fact that we have to use Kikunojo and Izo, Nami and Karina. It's just a big headache, but either way, I think these teams are gonna work incredibly well in the treasure map. Usually I notice an error when I go through the video, but the only thing I needed to do was add that Eneru support. So this is pretty smooth. Hope you guys enjoyed. There's going to be a lot of speed when it comes to these teams and a lot of damage. So a lot of different strategies we are combining here into the best speed teams possible. Thank you guys for watching. If you need replacements, ask them down below. Sorry about the long video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, and I'm out.